And good morning, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to run part two of this series, Virtual Hosters Find Success Beyond Operating Data Centers. And today, we're going to talk about close your data centers and go asset light. So, it's been a nice week. Part one was very well received, and I also had opportunity to talk to licensing distributors in a big con call last week. So I sense that there's a lot of interest around how to become a virtual hoster because nobody wants to be an old hoster. So jumping right in, the goal if you are to become a virtual hoster is to have no hardware and no data center. And this is really hard for the ones that has been hugging their data centers and nursing their hardware for decades. But this is what you should do. Get rid of it. But I realize that this is not something that you can do overnight. It probably takes a while. And the starting point is to stop investing in new hardware and make a plan for how to decommission old clusters. Old clusters are often the ones that are less economical for a hoster. They consume more footprint and they consume more electricity than modern clusters. So create a plan where you start decommissioning data center equipment and start with old clusters. That's my suggestion. And when you do this, it is important that you also reduce space. Often a hoster is in a co-location facility, and then it is important to have a discussion with a company that rents out space to you about how you can shrink your footprint and also shrink your monthly bill. And as always, when you have made a plan, it's important to follow it up. So if you want this to happen, it is important to start a journey pretty soon. And I expect this to take a year, perhaps a little bit more, before you are done. But you will probably find that this is so rewarding. It is so much better to be on Azure, so that you will probably increase the pace of how you are decommissioning your data centers. And I suggest that you initiate a discussion with your customers about moving current workloads to Azure. And one thing that is always important as a Microsoft partner is to eat your own dog food, so to say. And that is, why don't you migrate your own workloads right away? You will gain experience and you will also become so much more trustworthy when you have a discussion with your customers about migrating their workloads to Azure. If you have done it yourself, it will be so much easier to convince your customers. And in order to make this smooth, in existing agreements, I suggest that you offer the cost to stay the same. And because you can buy Azure on CSP, you will be able to still give your customer a monthly bill that includes everything: support, maintenance, and hosting. It is just that your hosting cost component now comes from Microsoft instead of other sources like when you produce it yourself. Migrations have never been a real money maker, so I suggest that you offer your customer, because you want your customer to accept that you are moving to Azure, and offer the customer that migration will be done at zero cost. This will give you a little bit of cost hit short term, but long term it doesn't matter, and the discussion will be so much easier. If you try to convince your customer to pay for migrations from your own data centers to Azure, well, then you can expect that discussions will take so much longer and perhaps you will not be successful. So migrate at zero cost. Customer agreements. In current agreements, you probably are not allowed to move workloads to Azure. So you will need a written approval from the customer. You don't need to rewrite the agreement, but you need an appendix where the customer gives written approval for you to move to Azure. And in future agreements, you should make sure that all your future agreements, the template that you are using, should be data center neutral, so that it is not up to the customer to decide which data center you are using. Instead, you can make the decision yourself. You probably want the customer to restrict the geography, because if you're moving to another geography, you might face, and your customer might face, legal implications. So as long as you're in the same geography, you should be able to move workloads at will. And this is important. Make sure that your future agreements are data center neutral. And larger customers, they probably want to use enterprise agreements, EA, but I see that CSP is winning also in the EA space, just because it is so much easier. It gives the customer flexibility, and you as a hoster will be able to control more. And the customer's view is that you will be able to be responsible for more. So CSP works also in the EA space, and it absolutely works in the small and medium space. So CSP is your best friend. Migration skills. In order to be able to migrate workloads at zero cost, you need to take out the mystery, and you need to make sure that you have the right people that are planning your migrations. You need seasoned people that knows what they are doing, and they shouldn't be shy to really recruit the best in the field, because a good project manager can never cost too much. This is something to think about, and if you don't have the right project managers, you can partner with a systems integrator where you use their project management resources. But when you do this right, migrations is no mystery, and you will be able to make migrations happen with close to zero impact on the customer. I hate big bangs. I suggest that you move workload by workload, and perhaps this window will take some time. It might take a few weeks, but as long as you can do it with zero impact on the customer's business, then the customer doesn't have a problem with migrations taking a few weeks. What is important is, of course, to learn about all dependencies. Complex systems have a lot of dependencies, and you need to make sure that you know them all, and that you have a plan for how to handle it. You should probably start with less complex workloads, like file shares, less used applications, and applications with databases that are not extremely overloaded. So start with the easier workloads, win confidence from the customer, and learn how to do it. As a virtual hoster, you need to, my view is that you need to make sure that you don't only run VMs the way that you probably used to do it in your old data centers. You should be open to use container technology because that's a good way to shrink the footprint, shrink the Azure bill, and there are also some applications that are really made for being used in containers. And I also believe that you shouldn't defend in absurdity that the customer should continue using applications just for themselves. Instead, some applications can very well go and be transformed into software as a service offerings. So be open to software as a service offerings, and not only Office 365 and Dynamics, but there are also others. And if these software as a service offerings are available on Azure, well, then it is so much easier because, as I said, there are often dependencies and applications want to be close to each other sometimes, especially when we're talking about complex line of business solutions. So if you find a software as a service that can replace an application that you used to run for your customer, and if that software as a service is available on Azure, then you will probably be able to show the customer that you have increased the speed, you have increased the way the application is being perceived by users, and it probably will also reduce the cost. Networking. This is something that is very important, that you take responsibility for connecting your customers' offices to Azure. And you need super good networking specialists. If you don't have them in-house, find them through a partner. These people will not be used, or unless you are a large virtual hoster, these people will not be used frequently, but when they are needed, they need to be best in class. So this is a great fit to partner with someone that is a specialized company in networking and communication. You also need to make sure that you have a really good incident management team with the right processes, because this is going to become a key differentiator for you. If you do incident management the right way, if you are able to do incident management also on the application layer and not just in the infrastructure layer, then this is something that will help you attract sensitive customers that have big needs, and they probably have a big IT budget to spend to a partner that meet their requirements. Something that I see once and then, and I think it's super smart, is to, if you are a medium-sized virtual hoster, you perhaps can partner with another similar-sized company in another geography, and you can share on taking care of incident management and monitoring 24/7. You take care of their servers, applications when they are sleeping, and vice versa. And fix before it breaks. It is always better to do proper maintenance to make sure that you patch not only the Windows layer or the Linux layer, but also the application layer and everything in between, such as middleware. And in order to make this happen, you need standard procedures. Standard procedures, they are called SOPs, is important. If you create standard operational procedures for everything you do, or as much as you can, you will be able to delegate work from specialized, highly paid people to more generalists. And this is good for quality and also for cost. You will build over time a good library of SOPs, standard operational procedures. And this library is going to be important for you. It is something that you consider as your IP, something that you should really guard. So investing in standard procedures, it should, an incident or a task should be performed the same way regardless of who is attending to do the work. And with SOPs, you will be able to make this more predictable. Okay, that was it. So, any questions?
Let's see, in the chat I'm looking, but no question. We can open up for questions now, so just
Wonderful.
unmute yourselves and ask away.
Okay. Looks like we don't have many questions.
Seems like not today. I guess we can conclude earlier.
What I realized last week when I was speaking to distributors is that there is large interest from Microsoft partners to move more and more of their assets to Azure, but nobody knows where to start. So again, my suggestion is to don't do it overnight. Start with your own workloads, build experience, build confidence, and then it will be so much easier to attract customers to do the same.
Thank you. And I see one question actually.
Wonderful.
What are the typical ways that you reduce cost in Azure when optimizing large-scale multi-tenancy hosting platforms?
Excellent question. So, first of all, there are some tricks for how to reduce cost in Azure. One trick is that you can sign up for a 3-year commitment. And this gives you, depending on what type of virtual machines you're running, but it typically gives you 40 to 50% discount. So that's a big thing. The other thing is that often when you are hosting in your own data centers, you can be very generous with capacity. And this means that your virtual machines are probably bigger and heavier than what is actually needed. And in Azure, you can shrink them a little bit. Sometimes you can shrink them a lot because it is so easy to add capacity if needed. So shrink your VMs in Azure. The third thing is that often there are a bunch of VMs that are not needed 24/7, 365 days. And you can snooze them. You can turn them off. If you turn them off nighttime, this will also help you reduce cost. The fourth thing is that I suggest that you use services like SQL as a service. Instead of running a bunch of SQL Server virtual machines for your customer, you should instead be open to use the multi-tenant service from Microsoft, SQL as a service. So that was all I could come up with just right now. But there are a lot of opportunities to shrink the cost in Azure compared to in a traditional data center. And these 4 things will help you a bit.
And Per, what is the best way to find subject matter experts for Azure? Example, need help with the networking? That's another question.
Excellent question. So I have a past in the IMCP. I developed the International Association of Microsoft Channel Partners, and this is the best community for how to find super great partners that are specialized in different fields, such as networking or data communication. So if you're not a member of the IMCP, you should become a member. And in your local community, in your local IMCP community, you will be able to find the right people, the right specialized partners that can help you. And if you still see this as a problem, just send me an email and I will introduce you to a partner in your geography that can help you out.
And the third question, the requirement to use a special shared services and internal use tenant for everything that is not specific for one single customer is a significant blocker for adoption as well as for some learning scenarios, partly because of cost, but also because it is not supported in the same way as a standard CSP tenant. And it's hard to find knowledge of the shared services tenant in Microsoft. Are there any plans to allow service providers to use standard tenants also for shared services and internal use?
So I don't know if and when we will see this happen, but this is great feedback. So I take it and I understand the needs.
I think this could also work as a feedback to be posted on the Microsoft partner community. Why not?
Absolutely. That's a great suggestion.
Okay.
Do you have any more questions?
Not at this point. I'm waiting to see if anything else appears.
And I encourage everyone to send me an email if they have any additional questions. I will be more than happy to assist. This is a fun topic.
Thank you very much. If there are no further questions, I believe we can conclude this episode here. We will post this recording on the Microsoft Partner Community event post, and also in this chat, I will update with the link. So thank you, Per, very much, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you all for attending.
Have a great day.